Thank you. I just realized that we at Universidad Veracruzana, we don't have a mascot. Like I was trying to say, go what? We don't. Sorry about that. Okay, so we're here together to talk about Zapateado. Zapateado, my turn is to talk about Zapateado in son jarocho. It's the we feel really grateful in Veracruz that we do always call son jarocho the music of Veracruz, but that's not really true. We share son jarocho with 2 other states. Okay, what is son jarocho? Son jarocho is an art form, music, dance, and lyrics together, combined all the time, that developed in colonial times in a cultural region, a mixture of Hispanic, indigenous, and African, in a very peculiar way, in a region called Sotavento. That's the south of Veracruz, from the middle to the south, a small part of the northern part of Oaxaca, and a small part of Tabasco. So son jarocho is not played in all Veracruz. The northern part plays another kind of music, or son huasteco, that we are going to hear about with Raquel. And also we share son jarocho with 2 other. So we call it música sotaventina, music of Sotavento, because sometimes our partners in Oaxaca and Tabasco get jealous. So we don't say that son jarocho is music from Veracruz, but it is. So son jarocho developed in colonial times. It was part of this pangenre in the whole Hispanic Caribbean, music of strings, mainly divided by 3, not 2. Stomp on a platform, Zapateado, with lyric forms coming from Spain. So that was basically the whole Caribbean during some time. But at the beginning of the 19th century, with the independence of all our countries began, so we began to separate. And then during the 19th century, son jarocho evolved from that pangenre or that big genre of music to one specific kind in Sotavento in our region. But we received son jarocho much as we know it today at the beginning of the 20th century, but it began some other transformations. Because Mexico had a steady process of urbanization, that means basically neglect of rural areas, so a lot of people, musicians with them, have to travel from the country to the cities. And that was like a big phenomena for everything, but for music too. So around the 30s, 40s, a lot of people began to move from the countryside to the cities, and then a new culture began. Musicians from Veracruz and Sotavento began to move to Mexico City. Also, we had one really strong film industry during those days. That was really important for us. So a new form of son jarocho began, an urban son jarocho. We call it now, in a politically correct way, son blanco. They've called it worse, much worse than that, because it had a lot of success from the 40s to this date. It was the first son jarocho to be recorded, and a lot of people thought that was the son jarocho, this one that was really born in the big cities of Mexico, mainly Mexico City. Around the third, toward the 70s, the 17th year, a new movement began to try to revival the country's son jarocho, the rural son jarocho. It was, I would say, like really conscious movement of rescate, revival of son jarocho, and that was known after that as Movimiento Jaranero. Movimiento Jaranero, jarana is the main instrument of son jarocho, so Movimiento Jaranero is the jarana player movement, but it was a real revitalization of the traditional ways of doing son jarocho. It had some developments, but by the final of the century, we had these two main branches going on, like the son blanco, commercial, some of them call it, commercial, another way to call them was marisquero, because it had to, take refuge at the, how is it called, restaurant marisqueros? Seafood restaurants in Mexico City. That was their niche. So that they called them marisqueros, but the revival came, and of course, they don't like each other. A lot of recriminations. Once it's like, I don't know, it's you play out of tune, you just show up, and you are really old-fashioned. Yeah, but we are tradition, and you're, etc., etc. You get the picture. But we have those two. I think they are part of the same tradition, even though they are really fighting each other all the time. You know about that, right? He's a jarocho musician playing here in California, and he's caught right in the middle of the battle. Okay, zapateado in the jarocho tradition is a way of dancing like we've seen here. It's like stomping your feet on some kind of platform. But also, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, is also a specific son. Son is, for us, is one piece of music that has certain characteristics, and so we name it in a certain way. But what's a son? Los sones jarochos. Sones jarochos are open structures. When my generation read for the first time Opera Aperta of Umberto Eco, I don't know if you have read it. It was a really important book. But when we read it, it's like, so? We've been doing that for centuries. No? Like, what's the big fuss about this book? So sones jarochos and opera structures. It means that it's a set of elements that are named in a certain way. They have some melodic lines, like how would you say, like drafts of a melody that you can follow closely or not, that you can sing to it. The requinto, the lead guitar, plays some of it, but they can, just go back and forth from the specific melody. A harmonic progression that is played mainly by the jarana as the rhythm guitar, and also outlined by the requinto. It goes like arpeggios around the harmonic progression. Some rhythm that is very important, as we're going to see, played by the jarana and the dancers, and a little structure that we inherit from the golden age of Hispanic, the Spanish golden age. Lope de Vega, Calderón de la Barca, we inherit cuartetas, quintillas, sextillas, and décimas that are sung with the different sones jarochos. But zapateado is one of these sones jarochos. We call one of these set of elements zapateado, el zapateado. And el zapateado is, first of all, an harmonic progression. But it's a really simple one. I don't think you can get any simpler than this. I mean, it's, how do I play that? It's here, right? Okay. Just for the ones that are not musicians, C and G7 is. That's it. But I have to tell you an anecdote here of a friend of mine. classically trained guitarist that went for the first time, like 15 years ago, and his first encounter with live son jarocho was on a fandango at Santiago Tuxtla. And he was there, the fandango, people dancing, people playing, and people eating, drinking, flirting, whatever we do in a fandango. And it was like analytical mind, classically trained. It's like, okay, 3 chords. Zapateado is 2, but normally there are 3 that repeat, and repeat, and repeat, and repeat. And another song, 3 chords that repeat and repeat. But, and I love him because he told me that at 3 in the morning, he had to ask himself why I am not bored. Just 3 chords, the whole night, and I am not bored. It's 3 in the morning. This is like a great experience. So what happens? This happens. The next part is the rhythm structure. The jarana player plays those 2 chords in a specific rhythm with a specific timing for each chord and a specific, how do you call manico? Strumming, yes. Yeah. With a combination of, like really hitting the chords, abanicos that are called fans, that is like with the fingers, and the thumb, a combination of those, and then he plays something like this. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay, I have to do it here. It's 2 chords, 2 chords. You have to be aware that a song normally lasts at a fandango like half an hour, maybe an hour, because there are other things at stake. The next are the dancers. Well, this is not really in order, everything is together, but I'm just using this as a logic progression. El Zapateado is a dance for couples. There are other songs that are only danced by women. No songs for only men, sorry. They are played on a the wood platform as a musical instrument that we are familiar, all of us are familiar with that. But the main difference is that here the dancers are not the soloists, they are part of the rhythm structure of the whole thing. They improvise within certain limits, as any one of the forms of Zapateado that we've seen here, and we are going to play a little bit of that. So we have jaranas, we have dancers, we have other kinds of melodic instruments like requintos, like the lead guitar, harp sometimes, not always, but there are harps sometimes, the singing, and the singing follows certain structure. Mainly octosyllabic, means 8 syllables by line, but it can go from 4 lines to 5 to 6 or to 10. That's the only forms used, and you can see and you can hear a lot of variations because, again, it's an open structure, and every singer either sings some lyrics from tradition, either changes that to like meet the specific moment, or improvise something new, but always in the same structure. This is décima, cuarteta, quintilla, sextilla. No color response in this one. We have other sonnets with color response, and this one we don't. Oops. They have to go here. So this is just one strophe within El Zapateado by Noé González. You know. Just a little thing. Okay, we have normally in a traditional context, musicians with Zapateado and with other sones, they never say we are going to play, for example, La Bamba. They don't say it. They say we are going to play una bamba. Means a bamba. It's the same with Zapateado. We're going to play a Zapateado, un Zapateado, not the Zapateado. That's why, because we have a lot of Zapateados, diachronically, across history, there have been a lot of Zapateados. We have the division that we saw, like the son blanco, the commercial son, and the traditional son. They follow different pathways. But we have natural mutations of the son. During the different regions, you find different sones, different Zapateados. But also, synchronously, because they are multiple simultaneous variations of Zapateado. We have all these historically oriented versions, but also, even if you hear El Zapateado with the same people, for the second time is going to be different, last different. They can go for 3 minutes, for an hour and a half or something, sometimes. If the fandango is really happening, the musicians just continue, and they because it's part of this improvisation, but also a spontaneous combination of the dancers, the singers, and the musicians. I'm going to play here just 2 examples. I think we have both traditions, like the commercial son blanco one and the traditional one, whatever that means. And we are lucky to have both, even though they don't like each other. But we are lucky to have both. We are lucky to have this tradition that is still there. People get together and throw a fandango, and they play, I don't know. I've been at fandangos that last, I don't know, they begin 9 p.m. and they are ending 7 or 8 p.m. the other day. It's a big party. And it's there, it's happening. It's being played by young musicians now. That was one of our concerns, that young musicians didn't want to play that, but now they are. They're really interested in son jarocho, and not only in Veracruz or in Sotavento, but also in other parts of Mexico and now in the United States. This is like a traditional fandango played on a plaza in Santiago Tuxtla. I think this is the one. And they're playing a Zapateado. You can see the natural atmosphere of a fandango in a jarocho tradition. Oops, again, sorry. And this last one is one of the other tradition. It's ironic for us that the dark side is the white side. The son blanco is, for us, is like the dark side because they went away and they went commercial. I'm on this side of the tradition, but I think that we have to acknowledge that they are also part of the whole son jarocho. So this is Ballet Folclórico Nacional with a zapateado, but in a theater, the whole production. This is not for dancing. Well, it is for dancing, but not for the people to dance. You have to be there sitting and watching this. Yeah, that's it.
Okay,
That's
very
it.
good.
Ok, muchas gracias.